think of a cardboard box just for our understanding. System might process this little differently. For us to understand, we are thinking of a cardboard box to understand this concept better. So primitive data types are the data types that are the basic building blocks. User-defined data types are the data types which were built using this primitive data types or the user-defined data types again. Now on paper, it looks good. So I've simply written this 1 to 1 inside this collection. But how can we do it programmatically? On my anonymous window, what would be the syntax of our collections? Remember the syntax that we have discussed in day 1 class, generic syntax that we have noted, which says data type, variable name, and a value. Now, we'll tweak this syntax a little to understand our collection concept. The syntax that we need to use for our first type of collection, which is nothing but list collection. I've tweaked the syntax a little. So instead of writing data type, variable name, value, and I'm putting a semicolon at the end, this time I've made a change to the syntax. So what is that change? If you see, data type, variable name, assignment operator, value, or asking for a new memory block. Now, what is this new memory block? We'll understand that in detail in the next few minutes. Now, I'll be using this syntax to write my first collection, which is of type list. I need to tell the system that what kind of a collection that I would need. So as a part of this requirement, I'll be asking the system to create a collection which can hold integer values in it. So we are creating a collection of type list and which would hold integer values in it. So this is how the syntax goes. I'll write the syntax first and then we'll break it down and understand what exactly this syntax means. So this is how I have created my first collection. Now let's break it down into sections and understand what exactly it is. Now compare line number 2 with line number 4. So if I do the comparison here, so the data type here on line number 2 is matching with this one. The variable name that we have here is matching with LSTDemo. Now equal to sign is as it is. Equal to sign is as it is. We have value. Do we have a value here? No, we do not have a value here. Now what we have here, we have a new memory block. So if you see here, I've written a new keyword and I'm asking the system to create a memory block. So this is that particular syntax. So this is matching the general syntax that I've written at the top. Now let's understand what exactly would happen if system process this line. So when I ask the system to process line number 4, it would go ahead and read this line and understands that we are looking for a collection of type list, and inside that collection we are expected to hold integer value. Now if you see here, I've written a keyword called new. So whenever the system sees this new keyword, it would understand that it needs to create a memory block for us. Now it would ask us what kind of a memory block do we need to create, right? So if I simply ask the system to create a memory block, it would not be able to create a memory block because it doesn't know what kind of a data type it needs to create. So if you see here, after this new keyword, I'm telling the system what kind of a data type I would require. So what kind of a data type we require? We require list of integers. So now it would understand it needs to create a collection. Think of a cardboard box just for our understanding. System might process this little differently. For us to understand, we are thinking of a cardboard box to understand this concept better. Now it would create a cardboard box for us. And what are the items that are going inside this cardboard box? How we'll get to know? Just by reading the data type that is inside it. So list of integers. So that means whatever the value that we are placing inside this cardboard box, so it knows that how to basically allocate a memory so that it can accommodate integer values that are coming its way. So as of now, we have not added any integer into this collection. So it's a empty cardboard box that we have. So if you look at the right hand side, we have asked the system to create a new memory block of type list, and we are asking the system to allocate memory in a way that we can hold the integer values inside this collection. Now, so this is a memory block that has been created. Now let's come back to the left hand side. So now what we are asking here, we are asking the system to give a name to the memory block that has been created. Just like how we did for integer a is equals to 2. So we are comparing with the data type, we are creating a variable and we are assigning a value to it. So that is what we have learned. Instead of assigning a value, we are creating a memory block. That is the only difference here. The rest all pieces are same. So now with the comparison of the syntax here, what we can understand here is the data type that we are creating is of type list of integers. That is pretty much what we have discussed here. So that is clear. And what is the variable name that we have? Variable name that we are giving to this memory block is LSTDemo. So this is the name that we have given to this memory block. Now, if you see this entire discussion, I was referring to this list of integers as a data type. Now, if you remember the discussion that we had previously, which is nothing but primitive data types, this data type that we have mentioned here never came up. In the primitive data types, we have looked at integers, we have looked at strings, we have looked at long, we have looked at date, we have looked at everything, but this never came up. Now, again, I'm saying that it's a data type. Now, is it a primitive data type? The answer is no. So now what kind of a data type it is? It is a user-defined data type. Now, what exactly this user-defined data types are? User-defined data types are the data types that we would create using the help of primitive data types or using user-defined data types. Using the things that are already there, we are building on top of that. So if you see here, this collection of type list is basically holding a list of integers. That means we are kind of holding integers as a data types at one place, and we are calling it as another data type, which is called as collection. What kind of a collection it is? It is collection of type list. So that is the user-defined data types. So primitive data types are the data types that are the basic building blocks. User-defined data types are the data types which were built using this primitive data types or the user-defined data types. To summarize what exactly we have done on line number 4, we have asked the system to create a memory block with name LST demo. And what kind of a memory block that we have asked the system to create? We have asked the system to create a collection of type list, and the items that are going inside is of type integer. So you would pretty much use this new keyword for the user-defined data types to tell the system to go ahead and create a memory block of this kind. So when it comes to user-defined types, you need to write your new keyword so that you can convey the information to the Salesforce saying that, yes, I'm going to create my own user-defined data types, which is of type list of integers. Or in your next part of code, you might create another user-defined data type, which is nothing but list of strings, or you can write another list. It is up to you how you want to use. Now, so we have created a memory block. Now, what is the next step? Now, the next step is to add items into this collection. So let's say, since I've defined that the items that are going inside this collections would be of type integers, let's say I want to add 1, 2, 1 as an items into my collection. If you see here, I have wantedly repeated this 1 twice, help you understand whether the list would allow duplicates or not. So my intention is to add these 3 items into my collection. So how would they be stacked? They would be stacked this way. So the first memory block that has been created within that collection would be holding my first value, which is nothing but 1, and another section would be holding my second value, third value. Do I have any other items that I need to add to this collection? I do not have anything. This would be my end of my collection. So let's say if I have 4 values, so let's say if I have another value called 4 that I need to add to this collection, so this collection would expand its size to hold on to the new value that we are adding to this collection, right? So this is how it would behave. As of removing this value 4, because I wanted to keep this simple and help you understand how exactly our list would behave. Now on paper, it looks good. So I've simply written this 1, 2, 1 inside this collection. But how can we do it programmatically? So for that, the answer is very simple. Write your variable name that you have given to your collection. So my variable name is LST demo. Put a dot and write add and 2 small brackets. Summation that we talk about, that is different, and this add is different. This add is a method that we have wherein which we'll be using this method to add items to our collection. What are the values that I wanted to add to my collection? The first value that I wanted to add a value to my collection of type LST demo is 1. So I'll simply write that value inside my small bracket. In case if you want to pass a string, if you have defined your list which would hold your string values, then you would simply pass the string value. So how can you pass a string value? By putting a single quote. Since that is not the case, I wanted to pass a integer value to my collection because I've defined my collection as integer. So that is where I'm directly passing the value number into my add method. Do not worry in case if you have not understood what exactly a method is. For time being, think that in order to add values to your collection, you need to use a method called add, and within the small brackets, you need to pass the value. Now, is my job done? The answer is no. I need to still pass 2 more values, which is 2 and 1. So what I'll do, I'll hit enter, copy paste this syntax once you have the logic ready. If you see here, do I want to add all ones into my collection? The answer is no. So the second item that I wanted to add into my collection is number called 2. So I'll simply replace it. So if you see here, whatever that we have written on paper, now we are able to add those values to my collection, and you will be able to see this collection in action once you run this code. As of now, we are just coding it. So once you run this code, that is where system would start executing these lines. Now, what we have discussed during our list as a collection topic, list would allow duplicate values. Now, how can I prove that this list would allow duplicate values? If I have the opportunity, I can directly take you to the memory block and show it to you how this list is basically designed and what are the values that we have added into it. Since I do not have that capability, I'll take a smaller route for now. There is an option to basically look at each and every element that we have added into the collection. We'll see that in a later class. For time being, what I'll do is, if I can count the number of items that are there inside this collection, and if I can print that value, will it that not be sufficient for us to believe that list would allow duplicates? If you see here, there are 3 items here. So how did I come up with number 3? So this is 1, this is 2, this is third item. So if I can print the value 3 in the debug statement, so that is where I can convince you that yes, there are 3 items that are added into our collection. In order to do that, what is the method that I'll be using? Again, I'm using a word called method. Do not worry in case if you do not know it. For time being, think that there is some magic that I'm doing to print this value. So the method that I'm using to print the size of the collection is size. So this is the method that you can use to basically print the size of our collection. Now, how can I use this method? By simply writing size and putting 2 small brackets. Now, think about this one. If I directly write size, will it make sense? Think like a processor when it has to process this line. Now, what would you think? So would you need to give the size of a LST demo, or do you need to give the size of another memory block that has been created? If you are acting like a processor, you would be confused. Do I need to give the size of this LST demo, or do I need to give the size of another collection that is there? So we are not sure. So how can we convey that to the system saying that, yes, I want the size of an LST demo by making use of our variable. So we know the variable name. So what you need to do, copy paste that variable name, paste it here, and put a dot in between your variable and this size. So if you read this one, what we are trying to ask the system is, we are asking the system to basically go ahead to this variable called LST demo and get me the size of that particular collection that I have written. So if I write this one, system would execute it, and we'll never be able to know what is the size of it. In order for us to read this information, what I'll be doing, I'll be making use of a debug statement. So instead of leaving it alone, I'll enclose that in a debug statement so that we can see it in our debug logs. This is the syntax. So now if you see, we have written a debug statement saying that the size of LST demo is this one. So if everything that I've taught you is true, it would return 3 here. Instead of lst.size, it would return 3. If that is not the case, if the list does not allow duplicates, it would return 2. So what are the unique values here? 1 and 2. Now pause this video and put that in the chat window saying that the size of the LST demo is your answer. If you think it is 3, put 3 there. If you think it is 2, feel free to put that as 2. In 3, 2, 1, I'll reveal that. Now let's go ahead and execute this code. I hope by now you might have an answer. Let's see what exactly it is. So I'm selecting all the lines. I do not have any extra code. I can either select all the lines that I need and click on execute highlighted. If I have only piece of code that I need, so I can go ahead and click on execute. I'll simply click on execute here. Now we have a debug log generated. My point of interest is in the debug statement that we have written on line number 10. So what I would ask the system to do, I would ask the system to basically show me only debug logs. Before we do that, if you quickly see this variable scope, earlier we were creating integers and all. So now the variable scope that we have is LST demo, which is of type list, and it is holding integers in it. All right. Now I'm interested in debug scope only. So I'll check this checkbox, and if you see here, on line number 10, the size of my LST demo is 3. So that means whatever that we have discussed so far is true. That means the list would allow duplicate values. So that is why we see 3 entries, which is 1, 2, 1. In total, 1, 2, 3, which is the size of our list. This is how you can make use of your collection. So what we have understood from this example, we have understood concept called list. Then we have understood how to add the items to it. And we have also understood how to check the size of our list.
Hey guys, if you like this video, do like, share and subscribe to SFTC Quest.